Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Shauna Lee, and I'm going to chat about my psychic adventures and also relative to my life at this time. It's kind of a personal experiment to open my personal area somewhat. So one of the areas I'm choosing to talk about today is being in alignment, and that can mean many different things, and I'm probably not using the correct word. But what I'm meaning in the topic that I'm choosing to talk about is when you are centered and what you think and what you feel and what your instinct is pointing at, it's all going in the same direction. This is what I'm talking about with congruency or being in alignment, or being centered or clean or clear is what I like to call it. Is someone who's got no BS in their system. They're not trying to hide or mask behaviors or trying to be someone in front of other people and someone else in front of others. I'm finding this energy is really hard to take at this time for me in particular. It may be something is popping up for you as well. I find it very hard to deal with because when you're an intuitive, and everybody's got intuition, it's just whether they choose to use it or fine-tune it or not, right? So everybody has a certain sense of this. It's whether they just brush it off or whether they utilize it. And I've utilized mine to a degree that it's like I'm working my way through levels to open other levels, and this is where I'm at. So along a path of working with this energy, you're awakened to things in others that helps you heal things in yourself if you're going in the right way. I mean, you could be in denial and not want to deal with anything, so you don't evolve spiritually at all, or emotionally or mentally or whatever. You don't mature through the process. So I'm trying to, the last, probably since 2013, I've really dug my heels in and decided to do a lot of work. And even before that, in my life, I had quite an anger problem, an issue. And when I had my son, who's now 17, that was an issue because it brought out anger, right? It just totally triggering, right? So you have to deal with those things. Certain things come in your life for reasons to evolve you. After I somewhat deal with my anger issues, there's other issues, which is, boundary making and stuff like this, is what I feel at this point charged to, I feel motivated to put more boundaries in my life so that I don't have to deal with riffraff, right? It's kind of the thing. It's the guy at the bar that says, no, you cannot enter here. Suddenly, this is my life. I'm trying to create boundaries with people that don't serve me. And I know I say that, but the thing is, it doesn't serve for your highest good. If people aren't happy for you or can't be happy for you or trying to scheme and twist the knife behind your back, these are people that I do not surround myself with anymore. In the past, I was delusional. I wanted to think that everybody was great and wonderful, and though that's nice to think that, it's not reality. And I was quite out of that reality, So, and now I've come back down to earth and working very hard to continue that, unfortunately. I say that because it is fun to be out in the ethers doing your thing, but the real life, you have to tap into the real life every once in a while. And the congruency is a problem I'm coming across. So at this moment, I'm finding it hard to deal with people that don't align, or they don't, because you're an intuitive, you really can see through a lot, which people don't realize. Some analyze that, some take no mind of it, and frankly, if you're not intuitive yourself, you're just really not going to have access to any of that information. So you're not going to work on the self. You're just going to continue the way you always have. And this is the problem I'm having, because I know that there's a certain part of me that wants to respect people for who they are, which I believe everybody should, but there's to a degree where it's the detriment of someone else. This is what I'm having. So it's detrimenting me. It's not helping me at this point how people act. So there's a sense of needing to put up boundaries. And a lot of times this comes in with your family or at work, in places where you kind of have to stuff it out. If you can pick and choose, right? You'd pick and choose, but there's certain scenarios, like I say, at work or family, where these are things that you have to kind of put up with to a certain degree. And this is what I'm learning. The boundary making skill. And I don't feel I'm very, I don't feel I'm very good at this. One, because for the longest time, I just never did. I was just like, let everybody be who they want to be. But what I didn't realize was how much they were infringing on my own will and making decisions and my own energy fields and whatnot. Like protecting that, I never did that. And when you it's like flies. When you let one in the house, you leave the door open and then you just get bombarded with flies, annoying things, right? And you don't clear the air, so you got to start smacking the fly swatter and get people in line. And I'm not, I don't know, it's funny because my family perceives me as confrontational, but I don't perceive myself as confrontational. So, but again, I don't know. I don't know how to, I just try not to walk in other people's ideas of me because they really have no clue, is the sense. And I'm constantly fighting to be who I am. And at this point, I realize that I shouldn't be doing that. But nonetheless, right back to the topic of alignment, this is what I'm struggling with the most. One, because I have to create boundaries where I never had boundaries before. And I struggle with that. And then secondly is how far do you go for your own self-worth and then against someone else's? Because, right, it's a right and wrong thing. I see you as oppressing me, so how do I get rid of that oppressive feeling if I can't get rid of you, kind of thing? If I can't remove you, or you can't be removed from this person, like if we're at work or whatever, I have to deal with that. And there's a certain sense where under normal circumstances, you talk to someone about a particular subject and you're heard and adjustments are made and everything goes right. Well, sometimes it's not a perfect world that we live in and there's no perfect people, and I'm very accommodating to them, too much so that I build resentment, all of this. So this is something that I'm learning how to transverse, go over top of, deal with, to the point where if it's building up resentment, bitterness, frustration, and anger, and we're not getting heard, there's problems here. So at this point, part of my problem is solved because I reduced my hours that I have to work. And part of that is leveling me out or grounding me out in a certain way, because there's a lot of stuff going on in my life right now that, it just, you're kind of hubbub. Because sometimes people, they go home to get away from the stress of work, and sometimes people go to work to get away from the stress of home, and there's a big balance of that, right? So this is what I'm trying to level out in my life right now, is just trying to make sure that, and for the most part, I don't really have stress at home. It's my own, I want to get this done, I want to get that, and if I don't, then I get mad at myself. So that's kind of one of those things. But on other levels, learning to deal with that. So I find it really hard, and as a medium, and someone who can pick up on vibes, if you will, you can tell when someone's kind of out of alignment with the self, and you may be talking to them and then you realize that they're full of it. Like they just don't, they say things and, you can tell by their actions, they don't believe those things that they say. And I'm finding this really hard to deal with it this time, to the point that I just will not deal with these types of people. Like I say, when and if possible, right? There's certain areas where you just can't leave those situations. You have to deal. Unfortunately, those people have a tendency of trying to make you look worse than they do. And that's when I don't like it. Like, they blame you for something that they may have done. Like, these are very, like, I haven't dealt with, honestly, these types of issues since grade school. So it's really, and in grade school, I would just turn and walk away. Like, I just wouldn't deal. I wouldn't. I'd just be like, okay, they're not telling the truth, so I'm out of here. Like, I just wouldn't deal. But as an adult, you know, you have to deal with people more. You have to work into that. And there's still people in denial, and they won't admit that they're being manipulative or what have you, right? Or they may say something to someone else, and it gets back to you, and you go, you know, in a logical world, you know, you're only 2 degrees of separation from anybody, you know, like what I mean? People are communicating all around, you know, this kind of thing. So it puzzles me as an adult, how much this still happens. I got to tell you, I was working in a male-oriented field when I was younger, like, to the degree, like, up until I had my son. And then when I had my son, that was my work. So I kind of got out of the field for quite a long time dealing with my boy. But again, I was working with males, and I, at the time, I just went with it. I just was happy when I get to work. And, you know, if you're not, you kind of have buddies that you talk to and buddies that you don't. You kind of like this. But you all got along. And if you didn't get along, someone confronted you, you went through it, and then you either adjusted or they adjusted, and then you move forward. You move on, right? And it's not the way with women. I hate to break it down to men and women, but this is what I'm noticing. Because it's back in the school days where this one's talking behind this back and this one's talking. And so it's very, it's hard to deal with. And even though the confrontation has happened, then we get the same behavior. This is the thing. We're not learning. So I'm at my point right now, I'm just like, you know what? All I can do is control my own behavior. So I try like hell not to end up in that position. Not only is it not my character to do those things, but I don't like to be associated with people anymore that do those things. And if you do those things, that's a strike, and I'm out of here. Like, I don't give people, you know, I used to give people 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 tries, you know? And they just never disappointed because, I mean, they did disappoint, but the thing is they never, ever pleasantly surprised me. It was always a disappointment. So I learned that why give them 5 chances when you can give them 1, and if they blow that, you move on. And you find something that is more in alignment with you. And I didn't realize the importance of that up until now, which is weird. You know, like, it's kind of like, what do you call birds of a feather, right? And even though, but again, it's this internal belief system that I had to switch, which was, you know, everybody's good and true and right and blah, blah, blah. They all have good hearts. And it's like, no, they don't. No, they don't. There are people that want to hurt you deliberately. And that was the worst thing that I had to accept. But in order to, you know, understand and move forward in a better mode, I had to understand that. In order to comprehend that, I had to understand that people are not always intrinsically good. They're not always altruist. They're not always happy for the betterment of others. And to a degree where I find it hard to find authentic people. And that's really right now what I'm trying to do in my life is just fill myself with authentic people around me and then see how things shift. Because sometimes, you know, you're trying to do the right thing and maybe you're just surrounded with a bunch of idiots and you're not in realization of this. And it's funny because the more I'm trying to lift myself out of that hole, the more I see it in others, like other people. It's like, oh yeah, over there. And again, it's easier to see things outside of you than it is to turn it back on yourself. But when you turn it back on yourself and you start adjusting, making adjustments to not have that happen, that's when you see the real change. That's when your frequency will change, right? When you change. Not when you're judging others to change, but or noticing others and da-da-da. So this is all stuff I'm dealing with at this time. I'm laughing because if I don't, I get so mad. Like, I get mad and upset, and it's like, what do you do? Because sometimes if you can't reason with someone, right, where there's no logic, you just gotta drop it. But if you're at work or if you're in a family and you have to deal with these people on a daily basis, you can't just drop. You have to, and again, not a lot of understanding for the intuitive process. In my circles, there's a lot of, I don't know, I want to call it low frequency, but people that are just not in touch with their intuition. They have they're logic based, they're 3D based. They don't want to tap into their intuition. That's all wishy-washy stuff. And I don't follow that. And I don't see no purpose to follow that, that kind of thing. I mean, you really have to be grounded in what you're following. You can't just, every little thought that comes in your head, you can't just follow. You have to understand from a spiritual perspective where you come from, like good or bad, basically. And then you go from there. And what I'm learning is that I don't have a lot of good around me, basically. And it's frustrating because I think in order to change my own frequency, I don't need the approval of others, but I do need to keep myself clear of those that are in manipulative mode. Anytime you're working in a manipulative mode, I feel like that's just the dark side of things. Because you're manipulating for what? For me. And you're manipulating for someone else. But does it benefit you in the end? This kind of thing. Because it's kind of dog eat dog, right? And I don't like that mentality. I don't like it. And I just see more of it, the more that I'm learning. But I realize sometimes when you're in a process of being illuminated to something, or something in your life is coming to a precipice where it needs to change, or you need to go left instead of right here, go right here. This is when it becomes the most frustrating, till at the point where you need to let it go, or you need to learn that lesson, or whatever it is. And I think with me right now, it's a lot of the boundaries of self that I decide to go outward in. Like, what boundaries am I going to uphold with people? And what will I allow and not allow? I know now exactly what frequency I do not like, which means what traits in a person, like if they're lying or cheating or stealing or manipulating, I just stay away from those people. And people that seem to be in alignment, like I said, with their heart, their voice, their actions, their words, everything is lining up. Those are the people that I would rather surround myself with, because you get what you get instead of getting what they say or what they do is different. This kind of thing. Congruency right now is what I'm working on. And and I will be... I'm saying a promise here. I'm going to try and keep it. I will be putting out a energy report on YouTube there in order to see what the heck is going on from my guides and whatnot. Again, I'm strictly staying in the 3D right now to deal with my physical life. And I have strictly allotted everything blocked everything out that wasn't in the 3D. So now I'm going to slowly tap in, and I just try not to tap in when I don't need to. So I'm going to do an energy report here soon and see what the heck's going on, because I'll tell you, there's been a flux in my system, and I know it. And even though I go in and get like an immediate answer, okay, yes, this was energetic shift, or no, this is something you got to deal with, or whatever, something brought on by you. That you got to realize as you go forward here what the heck's going on. What I'm finding now is it's just there's a lot of fluttering. I'd say, there's going to be an energy increase, or there's going to be an energy shift, or there's going to be a burp in the system, or a drop out of energy, or And, sometimes you cannot verbalize what is going on. And right now I feel like from my past reports, there's really been a decrease of the manipulative energies. Those that are manipulating are being taken away. The power that they mischievously gained, right, from others. What do you call that? In a nefarious way, right? In a dark way, they've stolen energy. That is now returning back to sender, to owner, to whatever. It's going back to its natural place. Now, the fluctuations in the field during this time, like we can have people that are still trying to gain that energy. They're going to fight and do what they know they think they can do. And that energy is going to cut off for them. So they're going to keep striving and keep empowering that. But the more that they empower, the more that they lose, and da-da-da. So there's that frequency shift that's happening worldwide. And then there's the shift of the increase of those that have been taken away from. So there's a sharp contrast on either end. So if you're a nefarious person, you're getting a sharp decline in your abilities, your powers, and a sharp increase in karma and a payoff for that. That needs to balance out quite quickly. And the same is in the opposing. So those that have been taken from, there's a sharp incline of things coming at you so fast that you can't process. And there's also a sharp incline of karma coming in to reward you for things, and you don't know where it's coming from. Well, this is the balancing of all of that coming into being, right? So I'm going to get more into that energy. I'm kind of swooping up in it right now, but I'm going to get more into that tonight. I'm going to do this two-part. I'm going to put this out, and then I'll put the other one out, and we'll do the cards and the whole bit. Right, we'll go into the Isis cards. Sorry, but I got an Egyptian lineage highly in my field, my energy frequency. And there's a lot of empowerment through that. And that's where a lot of this ancient stuff comes through me from. Again, I work directly with Metatron and also my guide, which is otherworldly guide. And I'm pretty sure I got it down to the bare minimum, meaning sometimes when we process and along our journey, we, emulate? We kind of project a vision of what we want our guide. So our guide could be a unicorn that talks to us because that's the way we're willing to accept it, right? As a kid or something, or a puppet. And then as we grow, maybe it's a dog that comes forth, or maybe it's a native person that comes forth because that's what you see as coming from wisdom, because that's the way I went from, I don't know if I ever had, it was just a voice, and a feeling. But once I started mindfully going in and looking for my guides, I made him a native, because at the time I was working through shamanistic books and going down that road, and that just seemed in line with where I was at, what I could accept at the time, right? So they came in that form. Then after that, it came as a man interrupting my meditations with, and then it became mixed up because that energy wasn't the right, I don't know, that energy, something happened there that I still haven't figured out. But as I move forward, it was, 213, was it before or after COVID? I can't remember, but I went through a meditation. And I had long not done them. And then all of a sudden went in, and then I got a visual. And I was like, oh, and I felt like I caught someone. Because they were up there, and I was like, oh, and it kind of startled me, the image. But then I realized, no, that is who it is. That's the visual that they somehow... my frequency got through theirs. I think they veiled until I was ready, and there was parts of me that were ready, so I got a little snippet of a visual, and therefore that's now has been congruent, and I feel like that's the valid person or whatever that I'm dealing with. It's not a person. But nonetheless, that's the guide that I'm dealing with at this point. So anyway, I got off on a train there, but yeah, I'm going to have to go in and pick up on the energies and see what's adrift here, because from what I've experienced and what I just see a lot of butterflies, and you know how butterflies, they flutter and there can be masses of them and they can kind of break up things, but it's pleasant. And I think it's pleasant because of my karma is, I'm due for some good karma coming in here because of all the shit that's been taken from me. And, so it's a fluttering, it's a trying to balance out that field without being overwhelmed either way, in the positive or the negative. And at this point, what's happening is instant manifestations. They're coming so quick, I can't even process. It's like I haven't even made a plan, and any possible plan that I could make is already coming to me to make itself known. So the moment I think, well, maybe I could go in this direction, boom, there's the opportunity comes right in my lap. So it's instant. So I kind of am not out of that yet. Well, I've done a lot of meditating to kind of release myself in order to deal so I can go back in. But yeah, there's a lot of heavy energies coming quick, fast, hard, and in no time. So those that are in good karma, it will be in good form. And those that are in bad karma, it will be in bad form. It will be bad things happening one after another. You can't get your footing. It's just bad things. So if that's the case, we may be, if we have no build up to this, meaning everything was going good and all of a sudden the energy drops and then we're having bad stuff happen, that may be just your balancing out, and it may be a little burp. And then we continue along as we did before, depending on your positivity or negativity core. Are you positively going forth for me, myself, and I? Or are you positively going forth for you and humanity and thinking about people as a whole and worried about others and this kind of thing? Where is your focus, on the self or on us as a community, as a whole, as a universe, right? Okay, I went into areas I didn't really want to go into here. Nonetheless, I will be putting out an energy report here soon, and then go through that, and I'll probably need time to digest that myself, because I've just been tapped out and whatnot. And as far as readings and stuff, I don't really have a story about having to do with readings, having to do with congruency, other than there is a sense of vibe. Like, we can tell if this vibe is out of congruency or complete in alignment. And I've never seen one yet that's complete in alignment. I don't know that we're complete in alignment until we pass, and it's given back. So here on this density, I feel like it's almost not possible. But those that are as much as they can be in alignment with themselves, those are the ones I'll gravitate to. And I think these are things that people need to be more aware of, or those that feel the need to be more aware of. There's some that just are oblivious, and they're going to continue to do so. And I no longer go in those areas to seek friendship. I just really would rather be with those who are in alignment. It's less work and less drawing out of energy, because if people inadvertently, whether they want to or mean to or not, they inadvertently pull energy from those that are of higher frequency. And if you're not aware of this, it's like a child running in a store. They don't know that this is a store, that they have to pay for things. They just grab and run out the door, right? And they get whatever they get, kind of thing. And it's like, no, it's not home. We can't just run around taking stuff. We gotta, you gotta pay for that at the door. And what's going on energetically is the door's closed and you're locked in the store and you have to pay. So that's the short of it. I feel like this is going to lead me into that energy report. So I'm going to shut it down here. I think I've kind of went off topic a little bit, but I am needing to go in for an energy report because I've been tapped out for too long. And during that, hopefully that will not only help me with a few things, guide me with a lot of struggles that I've had, because I'm at the point where I'm doing these struggles and I can't figure out the solution on my own. So now I have to go in, and I'm trying to really force myself in lesson-based stuff so that I can figure it out. And if I absolutely can't, I'm locked out, then I'm going in, and this is where I'm at. It's like I absolutely can't figure it out on my own, so now I got to go in, get my guides, do the reading, and we'll spit that out on YouTube, and hopefully you, along with me, will be helped in some way in order to move forward and evolve. So, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. So yeah, we will talk again soon. The reason I've been out is because I'm dealing with a lot of lesson-based stuff, and my energy, the frequencies around me are chaotic, and I didn't want to come in, and as you can probably tell from these readings, they're really scrambled with my energy, and I'm just not happy, but I have to put one out, so this is what's coming out, and the energy report will be in soon, so have a look at that. So again, I'm on Rumble, and all my readings are on Rumble. My horoscope readings, they're all there. And on YouTube here, you'll get the energy reports, masculine, feminine, which are kind of based around twin soul stuff, and love readings and whatnot will be coming up soon. So take care, guys. We will talk to you later. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon.